At first it was, I'm going to do all the interviews because I'm the best at them and I have a better track record. It was so wrong. It was so egotistical to think that way. So I very quickly started passing those interviews off to my executive assistant.
Yeah.
And she was fantastic. Now, I always tried to take part in an interview on some level, depending on where they were at fitting in the company or whether there was a leader, manager that was in between us. It really kind of shook itself out. But there was a couple principles that I learned. Number one, have a unattached neutral third party conduct the interview based on the roles, the descriptions, and the needs that we or the leader or the manager of that department's given them. So it's a neutral third party.
Okay.
Right. That was very helpful. And in many cases, it was going to be someone in the department or maybe a manager or a leader, maybe a cross manager.
They're typically less biased.
Yep. Less bias. So we're interviewing. Secondarily, if it's the neutral third party and I was the leader, then have that leader pop in and interview them too. So now we've got a collaborative effect. Now we have two eyes on it is better than one. And we've got the one that's in charge that's going to be overseeing this individual.
Yeah.
So those are two pieces. And then the final piece is I consistently had what's called a panel interview. And a panel interview would be a peer interview, meaning if there's one agent, two agent, three, some admin staff, and some other people, I would call them in. And I will tell you that was probably one of the best things that I've ever done. Because if I'm hiring someone, they were able to take part, ask a few questions. Their say didn't mean everything, but it was very important to me because then as they were onboarded, guess what? They helped in that process.
Yeah.
And they helped pick. So it did gain some traction. The last thing I would say is this. Find some questions in your interview process. I mean, you can go on YouTube and figure out, or Google, just Google interview questions, and you're going to get the same canned questions. I do things different. I want to see how people react. So I always carried around a Rubik's Cube. I don't have my backpack around here. I have a Rubik's Cube. And when I interview people, I will take the Rubik's Cube and I will say, here's the deal. You've got 2.5 minutes to finish this Rubik's Cube. There's no rules. Go. And I slide it across the table, and you can ask anyone that's worked for me. They have gone through this, and I sit there dead quiet, like so dead quiet you can hear a bird chirp from a mile away. All I want to see is how Matt reacts to that. I get there's very few people in the world that can probably solve a Rubik's Cube in 2.5 minutes, but I want to see how they think. Do they immediately pick it up and start trying? Do they start asking some questions about how they can do it? Do they ask me if they can peel all the things off and put them on? You know, how can they start working around it? I want to see how they think, how they're going to react. I certainly want to see if they say, I can't do it. I can't do it. A lot can be surmised in this interview process. So just think about your process for interviewing, and are you doing a good job to try and find the talent up front? Are you putting stop gaps and measures in place that you can identify real talent?
You know, the next part of this with staffing is, you know, creating a culture in your organization, a culture that they want to be in, a culture that works for your organization. You know, assuming you've done the things you're supposed to do with having standards, having your personal mission, having your company's mission and vision clear that everyone's on the same page on, then there's there's the everyday, right? It's the walking in, it's how you treat people. You know, I would say in general, I've been slightly appalled on how top advisors treat staff members.
Tell me more about that, Matt. What do you mean?
Very dismissive, very expendable, you know.
Better, holier than thou.
Yeah, short, not kind. These are people that, if are taking the brunt end of a lot of your clients' concern, questions, and how you treat them will emanate to how they treat your clients. If they really, really like you and they love you because you've just poured into them, that's important. And then the other thing too is we got to be careful on how we pour into our staff members as well. You know, buying them stuff and, trying to be liked is kind of weird as well. You know, it's that balance of like, how do we show love to each one of them? And this is where it's like, you got to know them. You got to know what's important to them. You got to ask questions about them. You got to listen. And I think that if most people just went in and asked questions and listened to their staff member with a smile on their face, don't have to say anything about how great they are, and just listened, walked away, you're going to get a lot of people loving on you because you love people that show interest in you. And if you're more interested in questions about their life and how they're doing than telling some great story about yourself, people are going to be engaged in that.
Yeah.
They're going to want to share with you. And you're going to want to say, that's great. Wow, you're amazing at that. Give a chance to compliment without overdoing it. And as you do that and show that concern in each person, you can start to create that culture of general, like, I like this agent. I like this advisor. And, I've had some experiences maybe for another day, but man, when it came to it, it was me. They took it for the whole team, did it with a smile. And it's, I just went in there with gratitude, tears and hugs for how wonderful they handled it. But that's what great staff members can do.
Yeah.
They can change the outcome.
I agree. And I even go back to this interview process. And I think there's a couple steps too, even before we get into starting to build this culture that help contribute to the culture, is the job offer itself.
Oh, yeah.
How do you make this job offer? Hey, Matt, I'm going to give you X number of $1,000 base salary. We're going to do commission. We're going to do incentive, kicker bonuses, this, and this, and this. And we promise all the things in the world. And it's like, and you start Monday. And I'm like, that was 50% of the job offer. You forgot the other 50% of the job offer. It's called your business. And so when we make job offers, these job offers are contingent. It's a contract. It's a two-way contract between I will pay you this if you
do this.
Do this. And the do this sets them up for success. I will tell you two things that people want to do. They want to know how to win and succeed, number one, and they want to know how to please you. So if you can set them up and say, I'll pay you this, but you've got to do this. You have to do, this is what you committed to, right? And it's the standards and the requirements that we have for that role. And now they know how to win.
Yeah. And, I kind of mentioned at the beginning when we were talking, that's something that I failed at. I have failed at that in the past. It always comes back to bite you. I wish that was something I did better at, and it would have saved me a lot of heartache in my past.